Hello and welcome back to Inside Tennessee Football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We are with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network. And after a bye week for Tennessee football, they are now in full preparation for Texas A&M as they look to get their second win of the SEC slate. So this morning, we were able to talk with Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel and then two players, tight end Jacob Warren and defensive end Tyler Barron. So let's jump right into our takeaways from what we heard, starting with you, Noah, and what Josh Heupel had to say.
Yeah, you mentioned the bye week, and he kind of said, I think Tyler Barron said it as well, came at a good time. Immediately after that South Carolina game, he talked about the bye week being a time to heal up. Obviously, a lot of guys have been banged up. Some guys you've gotten back into the lineup, like Cooper Mays, you probably like to have him get readjusted to the game, but then have a chance to have a week off as well after that performance. And then one guy he mentioned was Danico Slaughter, who has been dressed out. We saw him a little bit against South Carolina. He was asked about him today in that secondary and said that he anticipates him to be able to go to Saturday, which they're going to need. You know, there's a really good Texas A&M offense that has shown improvement under first-year offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino. I think that they're going to have a challenge on their hands in that game, particularly in the passing game. So, I mean, that's one guy that to be able to look out for. Again, we've seen him dressed the last couple of games, play a little last week or 2 weeks ago, and probably expect to see him out there Saturday.
You know, bye week's always good to kind of get some of your guys banged up, healthy going into the second half of the season. Another good thing about bye weeks is you get to learn a lot about yourself, and that's what Tennessee has tried to do at the wide receiver position with Brew McCoy's injury holding him out for the remainder of the year. They need a replacement at X receiver. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be one of the redshirt freshmen and Caleb Weber, Chaz Nimrod, or are they going to slide over Dante Thornton, who has only seen time in the slot to this point, but we've heard a lot about how he can kind of be a versatile guy that plays both sides. Josh Heupel was asked about that situation a couple times, and the thing that stood out to me the most was his kind of comments on Thornton, where he was quick to be like, hey, make sure you add him with those two when talking about guys that can replace Brew McCoy. If a question was asked that was like, hey, Caleb Webb and Chaz Nimrod, he would interject and he would say, make sure Dante's in that group too. So from what he said today, it'll be interesting to see exactly who's the first on the field on the official depth chart we got today. It was Chaz Nimrod and Caleb Webb as the two starters or for outside receivers, Dante Thornton still behind Squirrel White in the slot. But it sounds like we should see all three of them in some form next weekend, or I guess this weekend against Texas A&M, as they continue to see who's going to step up at that position. But let's go back to the defensive side of the ball. Noah, what was your takeaway from what Tyler Barron had to say?
Yeah, you know, it was kind of interesting. He was asked about the pass rush, and I know we've talked a lot about it, but in the offseason, that was something that Rodney Gardner and this Tennessee defense really wanted to improve on. Really, they were very good at stopping the run last year up front. They wanted to be able to get to the quarterback, and they've been one of the best teams, if not the best team in the SEC at getting statistically at getting to the quarterback. They did it a lot last week or in their last game against South Carolina. You know, kind of spent the entire night in the backfield getting to Spencer Rattler. Going to have a challenge on their hands again with another good quarterback, a guy who, you know, in Max Johnson that was a backup to start the year with Connor Weigman's injury. He's back in there now, the starter, but, you know, a guy that's played a lot of football in the SEC going back to LSU. So they'll have a challenge on their hands there. And, you know, Tyler Barron said that they're not satisfied with what they've done to this point. It's been very good, but for them, it's, you know, continuing, building off of that, and not looking back at what they've done to this point in the season. And I think, too, he was also asked, you know, it's a low percentage that you're going to get to the quarterback every play, obviously. But Tyler Barron said the mentality is every single time that ball snapped, that's where we want to be. And I thought that was kind of interesting. They play like it, too.
Heading into last Saturday's slate of games, so after week 5, Tennessee number 1 in the SEC in sacks at 22. Right behind them was Texas A&M at 20. So this isn't counting A&M's game against Alabama in that slate of games. But heading into that open date for Tennessee, they were number 1, A&M was number 2. So obviously going to be an aggressive battle kind of in the trenches coming up this weekend. For Tennessee on the offensive end, obviously they've got to do a good job blocking, and they have to kind of take another step in the right direction in terms of the offensive line play. Well, hoping with that will be the tight ends, and Jacob Warren talked about kind of the emphasis it has been for the tight ends blocking. One thing that he said that I thought was really interesting was Alec Ablin, former offensive line assistant, is now the tight end coach. So they pretty much have an offensive line coach coaching the tight ends right now. And with the blocking schemes, it's very similar to the offensive line, and Jacob Warren kind of said how much that's helped them and how that's helped them improve as blockers, him and McCall and Castle. So that's something to look out for, how they kind of affect the blocking game. On most pass plays, they're running routes, but you do see them kind of line up in that H-back and even split off as the tight end and drop back into that pass coverage. But in the run game specifically, they have been a big role in kind of freeing up those holes for that trio of backs who have been one of the best rush attacks in the SEC to this point. So that's something else to look out for, is at the tight end position, how they're going to be able to block this really, really solid pass rush and defensive line of Texas A&M. But we'll be back here tomorrow. We'll have both coordinators, Joey Halsley on the offensive side and Tim Banks on the defensive side, and a handful of players as well. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel to stay up to date with everything. Catch their interviews, catch our analysis afterward. Again, and head over to VolReport.com for all of our written work, and hop in the Rocky Top forum as well, as we've had some great discussion as we're kind of nearing that midpoint for Tennessee this football season. It feels like it's flowing by, but basketball season right around the corner as well. So head over to VolReport.com, be up to date on everything there is Tennessee athletics. Links to everything you need is in the description, and thank you for watching.